What's up, guys? Corey here with Toothless Reptiles in San Diego. As always, make sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I wanted to do a video on some tricks and tips with your little hatchlings. So one of the things that you really want to make sure that you do is never leave the cage open when you change waters. I know a lot of you change water really quickly, but these little guys can do exactly what they just did right there, and they hop off and they're gone. You put the water back in the cage and you think that they're still in there and you walk away, and then next time you come back change the water, they're gone and you think that they escaped then, when in reality they probably hopped out when you changed the water the day before, and now they could be anywhere. They've had the run of the house for the whole day. Another thing is when their water is dirty, these guys have clean water right now, but I just changed it, but their water gets really, really dirty. So, look at these guys, they're so funny. But once when their water gets really dirty, you need to make sure that there's not a monitor in the water bowl when you change it, when you dump it down the toilet or down the sink or whatever. So make sure that you count all of your monitors and you know exactly where they're at before you change the water. There's actually a horrific story behind that rule, not from me, but from a customer, and it was not a good situation. So especially if you're using black tubs, like a lot of people use black tubs, make sure that you know where your monitor is before you pull that tub out and you dump it down the toilet. Another thing is when you first get your monitor, they're going to be, usually they're pretty inquisitive and curious, and they come out of the box and they're really calm and kind of hanging out and everything. You want to make sure that you pull them out. You can socialize with them for a few minutes if you like. Obviously, you're going to be excited to get your monitor, so you're going to want to play with it, which is totally fine. But you're going to want to let it heat up naturally in the enclosure. So make sure the enclosure is ready to go. When your monitor arrives, you can pull it out of the bag, put it straight into the enclosure, let it heat up naturally. It'll find the hot spot and hang out. Your monitor is going to be cold when it gets there. The heat packs inside of shipping boxes for reptiles are not meant to keep your monitor comfortable. They are meant to keep your monitor alive. So a live arrival, as long as there's tongue flicking, regardless of body temperature, they should be okay. Obviously, if your monitor is down in the 40s and 30 degrees when you get it, you know, that's not really a good idea. But even those heat packs that are in there generally only keep that box above 70 degrees. And then FedEx actually has a live animal cargo, which stays 55 and above in the aircraft when they ship. So make sure that you get your monitor out, you let it heat up normally, and then depending on the personality of your monitor, and this is where the gray area comes in. Some people say don't interact with your monitor at all, and you know, as a general rule, that is okay to do, but not everybody needs to do that. If your monitor comes out and it's super flighty, but it allows you to pick it up, or it comes up to the door, you know, never shoo away positive interaction. So what I do generally when I get a new monitor is the only amount that I interact with it during the course of the first couple weeks that I have it is going in here, picking it up, moving it out of the water dish and changing its water, then putting the water back in, and that's it. If it's not in the water dish, I don't pick it up and move it. And then obviously if like you had, like we had a hatchling come up to the door, that's fine. I can pick them up, do a little movement and let them go back in the enclosure. But you want to kind of minimize your interactions for the first couple weeks just to help them transition into their new environment. They are going to be stressed out regardless of how you interact with them when you get them. They were just put in a box and shipped across the planet and sent to your door, and now they're away from all of their family members, and you know, they're dealing with a new environment, and there's a lot of sensory perception going on. So these little guys are so funny. So you got to keep that in mind when you have your monitors, but you can gauge it. So a lot of monitors that I've shipped out, you know, people interact with them as soon as they get them, and they've never had an issue, and they've never had their monitors hide in the enclosure and blah, blah, blah. But as long as you have your enclosure set up right and you're interacting with them on a daily basis, even in the slightest bit, like making sure you go in there and change your water. If you have a monitor that's really running off as soon as you open the cage and whatnot, try to change the water without actually making eye contact with the monitor. That helps calm them down too, to let them know that, hey, it's okay. And eventually they'll usually stop running off when you enter. So say that particular monitor is over here basking and I go to change the water. Well, if I pretend like I can't see that monitor, I don't see that monitor, I don't look at that monitor usually will just stay there and it won't move. Which is, it kind of trains it that, hey, it's okay, he's just coming in here to do some stuff and he'll be gone, blah, blah, blah. So with that said, depending on your monitor and the personality of your monitor, you kind of got to gauge everything by ear, and there are some other ways you can socialize. But again, socialization outside of normal interactions during cage and routine maintenance is something you really don't want to start to force until you've let your monitors settle in, which is usually at least around the 1 month mark. So if you're not seeing any progress with your routine interactions with, cage maintenance and whatnot, then you can move on to doing something else. But generally, as long as your monitor is doing okay and its requirements are met and you're doing the routine maintenance and your monitor is seeing you every day, it's called trust building, not trust having, for a reason. It takes time and it takes effort. It takes a certain amount of skill. That's why these are advanced reptiles. What are you guys doing? You're ready for your new homes, aren't you? Crazy kids. Little dinosaurs running around. And then also the first sign of your monitor either not being stressed out or getting better with stress is appetite. So if you want to make sure your monitor is eating, but you're obviously, if you're following my direction, you have crickets in the cage all the time, right? So it's hard to tell if your monitor is really eating, because a lot of times they're just eating the crickets that are around all day, and they may not be eating stuff like this, like a broken hard-boiled egg, So you want to make sure your monitor is eating. The best way to do that is to interact with them and get them into a warm bath and watch them poop. You'll be able to see the exoskeleton of a cricket in the poop. If you're seeing defecation in the water and you're able to analyze their poop in the bathtub and you see crickets, they are eating. So don't worry about them. A lot of times I feel like the stress transmits to the owner long before it transmits to the actual reptile. And I get phone calls and emails, which is totally fine, of people who are worried about their monitors. But in reality, these little guys can go quite a long time and still be healthy without eating. But most of the time they are eating. They just, never see it because they're always running around doing whatever. But so these are the little hatchlings we got. I'm trying to get inside their enclosure. What are you doing? What are you guys doing? I got you. Come here. Oh, I know. I can't get in there. I'm too big. I'm too big to fit in here. But yeah, they're doing really well. They're going to start shipping out next week. So I know Monday is a holiday, so we'll start shipping them out on Tuesday for Wednesday delivery. So if you bought your monitor, you can expect to see it on Wednesday at the soonest, or Thursday if you've made other arrangements with me. And like always, keep feeding.